Well, welcome back to the Pew, everybody, and welcome back to another bonus episode of Just a Guy in the Pew. If you've been following us and keeping up what we're doing, you know that every once in a while we take a break from the regular show and bring in some of our friends and some of the best the church has to offer in Catholic, personalities and speakers and priests and missionaries, and today is no different. I'm very proud and honored to bring in Max Zamzow, a friend of mine here who is a focus missionary at the University of Memphis. Zamzow, that's right. Jeff corrected me already. He's a friend of mine, I promise. He's just got a tough long name. Or last name, not a long name. Short name is difficult to pronounce. Anyway, so Max, Z, we will call him moving forward, is a focus missionary at the University of Memphis. And it was a school I went to. Didn't finish there, but very familiar with the campus and everything like that and what goes on there. And Max and I have been friends for a long time. Max, you've been here in town for a couple of years now. And I just think so much of what you guys do as focus missionaries. And I think there's a lot of people out there that are aware of what focus is, overall, but don't know exactly what they do or what the call is. So really wanted to have you on here today. So welcome to the show, my friend.
Yeah, thanks for having me, John.
Yeah, dude, it's a pleasure. I know you're probably a little nervous. That's okay. Don't be. There's like 3 people that watch this, so don't worry about it. But no, man, over the years, as Focus has grown here locally and around the country, man, I've been honored to go to a Seek, the last one that was in person in 2020 in Indianapolis, I believe, and just was an amazing event to see 20,000 people. A lot of students, a lot of alumni, a lot of people that give, benefactors and stuff, and to see the impact that it's making. And being in ministry myself and in a hard facet of ministry, right? It's hard to minister to men.
Yeah.
I know what it was like for me to be on college, and we have very different paths, as you well know. We've talked. I was doing keg stands while you're down there leading Bible studies, but I really admire what you guys do. And I just wanted to invite you on here today, man, to talk to you about a lot of different things. First of all, in the church today, we hear a lot of older people, millennials don't know this, or young people don't know this. And if young people would just get involved in the faith.
Sure.
And I think it's a sort of naive view from a lot of people that aren't really involved with a lot of young people. I see it in men's groups. There's a lot of guys going, well, we want young people, but they don't really want to do anything to involve young people. They still want to meet at 6 a.m. and all those things. And because of that, I think there's this response of sort of like young people just don't get it, or young people don't want to be involved.
Yeah.
But you live in a completely different world than that. Like, you're with
Absolutely.
young people, and you're seeing young people worship and come to our Lord in amazing ways. So that's where I want to start. Like, what's it like to be a focused missionary? What is it like to be a young man on a campus trying to talk to other young men about Jesus?
Yeah. Gosh. I think, first and foremost, just difficult because, I need conversion every day, right?
Amen.
And so to be given the privilege of serving on a college campus is so beautiful, and I am so grateful for it. But just recognizing all those ways that I am still in need of the Lord's mercy and all the ways that I still fall short. But it is truly beautiful. Last week we had students get together. We some of the leaders in our ministry that did come together at 6:30 in the morning so that we could talk about the gospel and what that looks like to share it on our campus.
Sure.
And so we do have students that are hungering to know the Lord, hungering for true, authentic friendship, and good community that are either coming in already looking for that, which is really great, but also encountering a lot of the things in college that don't provide you that, and kind of hitting a rock bottom and coming back and saying, hey, I actually want to live for more. I don't want to just party all day and all week in these certain things. And so it is beautiful to see students who do respond to those things where it's like, young people aren't connected, or they don't want this, or whatever that is, and to be able to see the beauty of that actually happening on the college campus.
Yeah.
And
that's awesome, man. And also, the other thing really too is it's not like you're from Memphis. It's not like you grew up around here and you knew people, and like you literally say yes to Focus, right? Like you've been to someone that was a missionary, and I want to talk about that, how you got involved.
Yeah.
But usually you've been around something like that and said, hey, this is something I might want to do with my life.
Right.
But then you go to training, and then they say, okay, you're going to the desert and wherever, or like you're going somewhere you've never been, and you're going to minister to people you've never met in a town you've never been around, in a culture you've never been around.
Sure.
And you guys are like, okay. Like, and I don't think that okay always comes with like, okay, it might be more like an okay, but but you still give your yes. And it's just amazing to me, just the great faith that you show and the trust, it's so easy to talk about trust, right? Like we need to trust the Lord. Okay, I'm going to trust the Lord. And then then you have to do it, and it's very, very difficult. But I know personally, like, you've done a great job with that. We've sat at this very table, not on the air, and talked about a lot of struggles you face, a lot of struggles I face in ministry. But man, I guess let's go back to first talking about, like, how did you feel a call to become a Focus missionary? Like, how did you get involved? What was your first experience with Focus?
Sure. I actually come from, so I'm from Minnesota, went to school, small school in Wisconsin.
You're not from Memphis?
No.
I'm kidding. Go ahead.
Wisconsin Stout was my undergrad, graduated plastics engineering. And so Focus is not on that campus. It was my junior or senior year that I went to the Seek conference over winter break. And that was my first introduction to.
Now, did somebody invite you to that? I mean, how did you find your way to that?
Yeah, we got a new campus minister in, I forget if that was junior or senior year, whichever year that was. And he had ties to Focus. And so then he invited the whole campus to go. And so I think we took maybe 20 students.
That's all that was on campus, huh? I'm just
kidding. Yeah.
You said the whole campus?
Sure.
I know, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. And our Catholic Center was struggling. It was not a place. I walked onto campus my freshman year. I walked in there and there was only a couple people. It's like, hey, I don't think I really fit. And so I actually didn't come around the Catholic Center a whole lot. I found friends in Protestant community, and still some of my best friends to this day still try to keep in touch. And but yeah, I was probably junior, senior year, got invited to go to the Seek conference. Had a beautiful experience at the conference. Walked in, there was 13,000 college students on fire for the Lord, and had really only been in a room of like 5 before.
And so, there were more of us.
To like walk into that room was just electric, and to go through that whole conference and encountering the Lord through the talks and the sacraments and all these things was just beautiful. And that kind of set me on a path of, hey, I think I want to make this. I mean, I'd gradually been making choices to choose Jesus more and more as I progressed through college. But that was my first interaction, and had gone to the SLS conference the following year after that. But that really was my only 2 experiences, like, truly with Focus. And so
the SLS is like the leadership one, right? Like, where the training, more of training than just open to like Seek is? Yeah.
A little bit more oriented towards that. And now we just have Seek every year. And so they've kind of more or less been combined. Okay. And so, yeah, that conference is no longer. But I was really just getting into my faith more and more in college. And by the time I graduated, I was a December grad. And so all fall semester, I was all about, like, hey, I came to school to be an engineer, to be the best engineer I could be, to glorify the Lord in that. And so I spent the fall semester interviewing and had 3 engineering offers by the time I was going to graduate. And so I needed to, the deadline for them all kind of landed on one Tuesday. And so Monday night, our Catholic Center had this adoration time and mass and some chant and some different things, some confession available, and went to that. You could take your little votive candle up in front of the Eucharist, and I was like, all right, Lord, I got these 3 engineering offers. Nothing else is on my mind. Nothing else is on the table. Like, what do you want me to do? I also don't know how to live my life for you in the engineering field, but I want to figure it out. Can you help me? And just kneeling right up in front of the monstrance, just had this, didn't hear any words, didn't hear a voice per se, but just this unreal conviction of, shoot, I am supposed to be a Focus missionary.
Wow.
And so really just kind of totally out of left field. I wrestled with that up there. I was like, Lord, that's not an option that I was asking about. Sure. Like, what do you mean? What's going on? But just a feeling that I had never gotten before, and I haven't really gotten since. Just this deep, deep, deep conviction of, I'm supposed to be a Focus missionary.
Yeah.
I don't even fully know what that is because I'm not on a Focus campus. I've only been to these 2 conferences. I know they're cool conferences, but like, what does that even mean?
Sure.
And I went back to our campus minister the next day and was like, hey, I I'm pretty sure I just had a pretty crazy experience of prayer last night. Like, can you help me figure this out? And he knew a lot about focus. He walked with me, and yeah, it was just a crazy experience beyond that. That was a Tuesday, and so Friday was the last day to get applications in for staff. And so I whipped an application together in like 3 days. I got invited to the last interview weekend of the semester and went, had a beautiful time, got my offer from there, and was just like figuring it out on the fly. Sure. Like, hey, I don't know really why I'm doing this and all these things, but I know the Lord wants me here and I'm excited.
I think that's the quote of every saint. Like the first, I don't know why I'm really doing this, but I'm here. Like, I think that's the way it all starts. You know, for those that are listening that may not be familiar with Focus or watching, you know, in the way that someone who says, I'm going to go to work for Focus, it's not like they said, okay, we're going to sit you down. Here's your benefits. You know, here's your $58,000 a year. Here's this and that. Yeah. It's not like that at all, right? Like you have to go and fundraise your salary. You basically say, you know, what the opposite of what Satan said, right? Satan said, I will not serve. You say, I will serve.
Yep.
And there's literally like, okay, we're going to put you here and you've got to pay your own way, basically.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah. The Luke 5, 1-11, the call of Peter has always been something that has really resonated with me, like for a lot of those reasons with, like, you know, Peter goes out and he casts the net over the side of the boat and they catch all of these fish and, like, I mean, potentially more fish than he's ever seen in one catch in his whole life. You know, I'm looking at these 3 engineering offers that are going to set me up really well for a long time. And it's like, hey, this is what I've worked for. This is beautiful, amazing. Lord, what do you want me to do with it? And he said, I want you to leave it right there. And
wow.
Yeah, and come join Focus, come move to, my first placement was South Florida. Yeah. So I went from Wisconsin to South Florida. He's like, yeah, I want you to move down here. I want you to fundraise your salary. And I want you to give me your heart.
Yeah, it seems like almost every one of you guys I talk to, like, it's very different stories, but it's that part you just mentioned is very similar. Like one day the Lord just told me, I want you to do this.
Yeah.
And I turned away from everything else, you know, because right now, and always, I guess, in the world, you know, we've always had these boxes we're supposed to check, you know, and you need to go to school, you need to go to college, you need to graduate, get a degree, and, you know, find a handsome, you know, man or a pretty woman, depending on, you know, man or woman, and get married and have kids and all this stuff. And that may very well still be your future at some point, but like just to say, I'm going to put aside what the world and what, you know, everyone says logically should happen, and I'm going to go set this aside for Jesus. It's a very just awe-inspiring thing to me. I mean, I had to do that in my own life in regards to, you know, where people looked at me crazy and saying, dude, you're 37 years old and you're leaving a 23-year career. What are you doing?
Yeah.
But I know well what that feeling is you're talking about, right? Where it's like, no, my heart is restless, and like I love Jesus, and I want other people to know him too. But I want people to know how extraordinary you guys are, because it's not like, I mean, there is nothing on the other side that's like there's guaranteed success. There's this much a month coming in. There's any of that, and you guys still say at a young age, and even something you said earlier, like I was going to be a plastics engineer, and I wanted to know how to glorify the Lord in it, like. That was nowhere near where I was in college. I was like, I don't know what I want to do, except I want to date hot chicks and drink and do all this other stuff.
Yeah.
That's where I was. And so I'm always so impressed with somebody. And God bless your parents, man. I mean, for raising you. I've had the privilege of meeting your dad up in St. Paul when I went up there and gave a talk.
Absolutely.
He walked in. He was about to say I'm, and you guys look a lot alike. So I kind of knew who he was before he said I. And if he's watching or listening, hey, Mr. Zamzow, it's good to see you, or good to mention you here. But Zamzow, there we go again. Dang it. That's what I have Zeke and Jeff in here for. Live error corrections. That's what I bring them in for. Not embarrassing at all. But anyway, man, I want to talk a little bit about some of the experiences you guys have. I know there was a missionary here before, Brian Roberts. You know, he's becoming a priest now. He's in seminary in Boynton Beach, I believe. And I remember he used to come in here and he was always talking about, man, can I come over and talk for a while? Some of the same things you've, you know, talked about, and said, these guys won't listen, or these guys aren't this, or these guys aren't, nobody's getting it. And just the angst that goes along with this, and just the fortitude you have to have to really know, one, I mean, am I cut out for this? Am I doing well at this? Am I supposed to be doing this? Did I discern well? All of those things have got to be constant struggles in your life, and I knew they were for him. And yet he always found a way to find the positive and to where the Lord was in that. How do you do that? So imagine a college campus. You don't have to imagine it. You're listening to it. You're living it. But people that are watching or listening, like there's everything else on college campuses. First of all, you have all the Protestant stuff, which generally is more well-funded and more well-staffed and things like that.
Yep.
And then you have all the other secular things and the fraternities and all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
How do you go about as a young man, like trying to talk to people whose first inclination in college isn't, man, I should go figure out my life with Jesus?
Yeah.
How do you go about bringing those people or opening up those avenues and bringing people to a place to want to worship our Lord or want to know our Lord better?
Sure. Yeah, I'm certainly different levels. We have the students every year that come in and like, hey, we want to be a part of the Catholic Center. I want to know Jesus. I want to grow in my faith. And we obviously welcome them right in with open arms.
Yeah.
Like, hey, sweet, glad you're here. Thanks.
We didn't have to run any ads. Yeah.
Absolutely. And a lot of it too, we work right with the Catholic Newman Center on campus, and so they have all of their programming and things as well. And we're here to serve the Catholic Center. So we're the hands and feet, really the evangelistic arm is maybe another bodily analogy.
Sure.
To be out there and just be encountering more and more people. And so a lot of that just comes through friendship, and which can be pretty dramatic sometimes. Just walking down the sidewalk to smile at somebody and give them a kind hello in today's day and age is kind of...
You might get punched in the face.
Yeah. It's kind of discombobulating. Like, that person seemed like kind of kind and wanted and was interested in the fact that I exist.
Yeah. Or the fact that your head went in your phone in the first place, right?
Yeah,
Scrolling.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And so, we really do get to just go out as missionaries and invite students into friendship, authentic friendship, which isn't rooted in like how much you can drink, how any other thing that you can do, but just, hey, I'm actually interested in your life. I'm actually just interested in encountering you, an immortal soul, a son or daughter of God, and just watching people come alive in friendship. And so that can be anything. We join intramural teams. We set up tables out on campus just to meet people, hand out donuts, ask questions, whatever that looks like. Go to campus events, all of the things, but just how can we be out there and be the face of Christ to students on campus? And there is definitely a lot of rejection. There's a lot of people who are like,
how do you deal with that? Because nobody likes rejection. I mean, I get it a lot too. Hey, I want to come help you start a men's group. No, thanks. We don't want it or you. Okay, thank you. Next, how do you deal with it? Like, because it's I know it's very hard, right? You want people to love the Lord. You know what He's done in your life. You want that to happen for other people. And there's just people who don't want it. They're just like, I'm not interested. Yeah. And you're sitting there with like, I've got the best news ever, and you won't even give me a second, right? Mm-hmm. And so how do you deal with that? It's not like you have, you're 50 years old and you've got tons of life experience. How do you deal with it as a young man? Yeah, I think more often than I'd like to admit, I run away or I hide from it from the next time. Yeah, but just jump in a bush or something. Right. You didn't see me, wasn't here. No. Exactly. No, and I mean, a big part of what we want to share with students is that Acts 2:42 and the four tenets of living the life of a disciple. And so a big part of that obviously is sacraments and prayer. And so being able to just go back from that place, live from our own divine intimacy with the Lord. I mean, focus is so incredible with really always reminding us that who we become is more important than what we do. Amen. And so we are here to share the gospel, but the Lord first and foremost wants me to be convicted of the gospel every day, wants me to be transformed. And to be able to just run back to the Lord in prayer every day, to start there. And which is, why we ran into each other in the Adoration Chapel this morning. Yeah, we were there this morning. I haven't been to Adoration in a while. I hate to admit that on the air, but I haven't. And I went over there, and sure, there you were. And one thing that impressed me about you, man, is there were 3 or 4 people in there, and there's always shuffling, and there's that stupid clock on the wall that you can hear every tick. It's like tick, tick, tick. Yep. It's annoying. But, like, I get easily annoyed by things like that. But you were over there in the front, like, 3 feet from Jesus. You had your journal out. You were kneeling. You were sitting. You were kneeling. You're sitting. And nothing, it was like there was nobody else in the room but you and Jesus. And I was really impressed by that. Yeah. Because I think I have ADHD that was just never diagnosed, because I'm like squirrel constantly. Sure. And I find it hard sometimes to just really sit there and not have something to do, right? And so that's where I have to work in my own prayer life. But I love to see people that are living a life, but also backing it up by their actions. Like, you didn't know I was going to be there. I know you were going to be there, but like, just to walk in and see, like, I knew why you were in there. One, you're discerning things. You told me that's where you plan your week, stuff like that. But I also knew you were probably praying for today and this interview and stuff. But it's just so affirming to see that, to see people living it, when there is no camera or where there is no crowd around or there's not other people they're trying to lead to something.
Right.
But you're actually, putting yourself first. And I think that's an important, not putting yourself first in front of other people, but you're not neglecting your own spiritual life, which easily happens in ministry.
Absolutely.
I fight that a lot myself, where it's just my spiritual director will tell me, like, yeah, you know why you're all twisted up and messed up right now? Because your work isn't your prayer, right? And very often we can run into that. And I know Brian and you and I have talked about that before. Absolutely. Where you're so busy in the ministry that you forget your own spiritual life. And when you do that, you can't give what you don't have, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and one of my teammates now, she talks about how she loves to just treat her holy hour in the morning. We pray a holy hour every day, pray the rosary, go to mass.
You don't have to brag.
Daily mass. So it's just a part of really steeping the mission in prayer.
That's right.
The Holy Spirit is the principal evangelizer, and it is not us. So, beautiful opportunity to go to the sacraments, and she just talks about how our holy hour every day should be a mini Sabbath. So am I truly going to receive from the Lord and to thank him for all he's done, or am I just going in because it's quiet and I can get more work done?
Or
silently?
Checking a box.
Yeah, or
right?
checking
Something
a box.
I'm supposed to do.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I tell you, it just, I want to go over a little bit about, man, the difficulties of being a young person in the world today. Because, the number one religion in the world now is nuns, and we're not talking about the kinds with habits, right? We're talking about the ones that don't believe in anything. And, it's got to be difficult sometimes when you're out there proclaiming the Lord and it falls on a lot of deaf ears. It really is like being able to see down the road and see somebody in a car and know there's a cliff and that they're not going to make the turn, right?
Yeah.
And you're just trying to like let them know that, and there's that, I'll be fine, or I don't need any help and all of that. It's very difficult. And then you have just sometimes even within our own people in our own church, like young people don't care. Young people aren't this. Young people are too into tradition, and they're like they've got veils on now and all this stuff. And it's almost like you can't win sometimes to be a young Catholic, whether you're a guy or a girl, right? I'm either useless and I don't care enough, or I care too much. Like, what do you think about that? And what would you tell people? Like, there's a lot of older people, we have all different ages of men and women that listen to this, but what would you say to people that are just sort of rough on young Catholics or doubtful of where we are in the church with young Catholics? Like, what do you see that inspires you, and what would you say from your own personal experience?
Yeah, absolutely. And I would say definitely have hope. And if I give a quick little spiel on just like what Focus is, I guess I haven't even hit that.
It, man.
Yeah.
There's a collection basket by the door. I'm just kidding. No, go ahead, man.
Yeah. But Focus stands for Fellowship of Catholic University Students. And so it is a Catholic apostolate that is doing outreach on college campuses.
Sure.
We're, trying to share the love of Christ with students through authentic friendship, help them to come to know the Lord, build them up, and help them share their own faith and the love of Jesus with their peers as well. And we're not even 25 years old yet as an apostolate, started in 1998, but we have gone from one campus with 2 missionaries to 216 locations with 861 missionaries.
Wow.
And so I did take a little time today to try to memorize some stats.
Right. You hear that, Focus people? He knows his stuff. Yeah, there you go.
But in really only bringing that up to kind of dive into that hope of we actually have tens of thousands of people who have gone through and encountered the Lord through Focus, through campus ministries, that have been launched into Catholic Lifelong Mission, which is our whole goal. We do want to transform the college campus because it is one of the more open spaces where students are asking the big questions, wanting to know what they do with their lives and who they want to become and these different things.
Sure.
So it's a great opportunity to invite them into relationship with the Lord. To just be able to see that the apostolate is growing that much, that we have tens of thousands of students who have gone through Focus, that we've had thousands of people be missionaries. Even just a missionary alumni, I think we've had a little over 1,100 people discern religious vocations after being on staff.
Wow, yeah.
And yeah, just to be able to like see some of those numbers, to see the Seek Conference have 25,000 people at it. I just don't think people are necessarily aware of that. Of you just go to your parish, every week, maybe daily mass too, and you just see a couple of young people, and you're just like, yeah, they're just not interested. But that's actually not what we're seeing. We have campuses that are international too. We have, more and more people that more and more students that want to know the Lord. And so, I think first is just have hope and just even from those statistics, hopefully can start to get a picture of like, the Lord is working. Young people do want the truth. They do want the meaning and purpose and joy and happiness that comes from relationship with the Lord. And so big picture, it's like, hey, it's here, it's happening. And just keep praying because conversions are abounding right now.
Sure.
Where sin abounds, grace abounds all the more, and there's plenty of sin on the college campus.
Sure, that's right. Amen. I can attest to that. Still washing some of that off. But and look, I mean, if you're somebody out here that is saying like, I want to see a change in young people, I want to, Focus is a place that needs support too. I mean, there's many ways to give. I was actually on the phone before you got here with Mike Perkins, who worked for years in philanthropy for them, raising money and helping to support it. And in my opinion, I mean, I've been to a couple things in the last few years that really, I've said like, if people in the church, like you're saying, most people don't know this. Most people don't even know what's going on in their parish, right? They're just going to church and going home.
Sure.
There is a lack of true engagement in our faith, right? It's just I'm doing the bare minimum, or I'm checking boxes, or this is just what my image of being Catholic always is. You go to church on Sunday, you say a rosary every once in a while, and that's it.
Yeah.
We know that there's a lot deeper places to go in our faith, but for people that would say like, instead of just saying like, well, our young people are messed up, or our young people are this is an excellent way to support something that's going to help with that, right?
Absolutely.
And there's a lot of things where a lot of ministry we try to do when it's much harder, right? Like if we could get men in high school, or even their first couple of years in college, and women to understand like what it is to live as a virtuous Catholic person, and to live and realize that like you don't have to give your body away, you don't have to do all these other things. You can live this, find this joy you're looking for in our Lord, right? Like,
absolutely.
It seems like it would be much easier to try to do that than trying to fix the problem after. That's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to fix years and years of mistakes and problems on an individual's life or my own life or whatever is the ministry the Lord's called me to. But oftentimes I look at that like even with pro-life and abortion, right? Like we're outside of clinics, and we should be, right? You got to stop anybody that ever wants to try to give up that child's life. But fixing the problem, if you ever truly want to fix it, is way before that ever happens, is before the conception, right? Is raising people that aren't laying down with one another before they're married, right?
Absolutely.
And so that's what I love about Focus, is that they're actually trying to get people there. Because when I give talks in high school, one of the first things I'll say is like, who's excited about freedom, right? Juniors and seniors, who's ready to get to college, get away from mom and dad? Yeah, who's ready to have some beer in the fridge? And they're and I'm like, yeah, well, you better be careful about that.
Sure.
Because if you don't know who you are, freedom's a very dangerous thing.
Absolutely.
And you guys are doing such a great job with that. And I've been to two things in the last couple of years, I think, that really made me go, man, if the church knew, like if everybody had a front row seat to this right now, they would be so overjoyed and would quit working with the negativity and our church is dying and our church is this. Those two things are the JP2 Healing Center. I went down there for a week of training.
Sure. And
I was like, man, I just wish I could walk around with a GoPro like all day long and just put this into something for people to just be overjoyed with. And the other thing is Seek. I remember I was working for Cardinal Studios, and I was supposed to be giving Matt Fradd, first time I ever met him, some cards for his Strive program. And I was looking all over the place. I'd never been there. Somebody's like, he's in the vendor room. I didn't realize there were like 3 billion vendors in the Seek thing. And I finally find him, and I walk into the main room, which looks like 3 football fields. And you got massive TV screens, halfway back, because you're so far back you can't really make out, who's on stage.
Yeah.
Because there's so many people. And I remember Sister Miriam was talking. Scott Hahn got an award, and then she started talking, and I'd never really heard of her, and I was like, oh my gosh, who's this person? This is amazing. And then next thing you know, here come like 500 priests or whatever, and this gigantic, monstrance and incense everywhere, and there's just young people laid out, like prostrate on the floor, and people weeping, and I was like, man, this is awesome. Yeah. Like, I don't know if people could witness this.
Absolutely.
What a great hope it would give to our church. And so I'm excited to try to get to go again. But Max, like I said, again, I think people need to know just the difficulties you guys go through, that you need prayer. I mean, where is it that most people, like right now as a focus missionary, in the heat of the battle, what would you want from people? I mean, obviously you have to have financial support and stuff like that. I get it. Yeah. But like what would you need the most from people as far as support? I mean, because it's hard to do it alone, and not everybody has some place they can go to and talk about with somebody in ministry to understand it. So
sure.
What would you say to that?
Yeah, I mean, definitely always prayer. So just a beautiful opportunity to get the word out about Focus and what we're doing, and that the Lord is changing hearts on all of our campuses, particularly. I mean, I'm certainly more aware of Memphis's campus.
Sure. Yeah.
But yeah, certainly prayer. Financial support is always a big one, just for these conferences, these life-changing experiences that we have. We've got mission trips. We do put on a lot of events on campus and do outreach things that do just require that support. But yeah, also too, just to really be able to come together as that community. It has been beautiful here to where we have just our own Catholic center. Some universities have their Newman Center is part of a parish, and so everything's already kind of combined. But
sure,
it's already been beautiful just to be here for myself and for my team to have holy men that I can actually talk to as well.
Somebody else come in.
That guy's in behind you. Yeah,
that's right. You mean St. Joseph up there, the statue? Yeah, he's pretty
exactly.
Continue.
And so the just to be able to share what we're doing and be in community with each other, where to get everybody on the same page, where it doesn't have to be all on the Focus Missionaries or all on the campus ministry, where like students, whether parents think that they listen to them or not, like as parents, as grandparents, as aunt and uncles, to be able to encourage your son or daughter, your grandchildren, whoever that might be, of like, hey, there are really beautiful, good things that are available. And so just helping everybody else know too, that just like, hey, if you have somebody that's in college age that would benefit from their ministry on campus, that would benefit from a SEEK conference, these different things, mission trips, we just have a lot of beautiful opportunities going on to encounter the Lord. And I think just like really starting that conversation of like, hey, we are here, there is beautiful things happening, and Focus is starting to get a greater people are becoming more aware of what we're doing as we're growing, and at more than 200 locations now and these different things. But just continuing moving that forward, prayer, financial support, but also just community support of like, hey, we're all in this together. And we want to serve too. We've got a parish cleanup day tomorrow, and so we're bringing students to Ascension Parish, and we're going to go help clean up and do some work over there. So it's not
That's
all
awesome.
about it's not all about just like, hey, everybody just come give us stuff. It's like, hey, in giving we receive, and we are called to the corporal works of mercy and these different things. And so we also want to be active. We want to be encountering everybody else in our community as well. And so I think just permission to reach out and invite us into things too, if just so that we may all be together.
That's been something I've enjoyed, and Max, really well, Max Z, really well what we do in our ministry, because you and I are friends, and going to certain men's groups and all those things. It's just been such a blessing. And one of the things that we do, one of our pillars, is service. And I got to tell you, one of the things I've enjoyed the most over the years since we've been doing that 4-pillar format has been spending time over there at the campus center, at the Newman Center, just hanging out. I mean, we'll cook barbecue and just come over there and sit, and I think that's important for these students to know, because some of them are from here, some of them are not. Some are planning to live here, even if they're not from here. Yeah. And it's like anything else. I remember being, as a Baptist kid, my church had basically a great children's program, youth program, and then after that, like when you turned 18, the youth group, there was no young adult group. There was like my parents' age.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember thinking, like, what am I supposed to do after this? Because you get used to that community.
Right.
You're used to that weekly thing where you guys are doing adoration or you're just out serving. And you get to the point where you're like, what am I going to do after this? Like, it's easier to do this when I'm surrounded by other people, right?
Mm-hmm.
But now they're going home. They're not here. They're taking a job there. I'm losing my community, but I'm going to be here. And where do I go next?
Mm-hmm.
And so our parish, Holy Rosary's, 5-6 minutes up the road, if that, from the University of Memphis. And
Right.
that's why we've always enjoyed not only going over there and serving you guys, but inviting the men of your group to come over there, because I want them to know, like, hey, your Catholic life's not over when the Newman Center ends and you're out of college, right?
Right.
Like, I want you to be able to walk into a parish and go, I know people. Because quite frankly, you've lived here a couple of years. I'm sure the first Catholic places you walked into, you didn't know a soul and nobody talked to you, right? And unfortunately, that's the way a lot of things go in our church. There's not a great hospitality when you walk in a Catholic church. So it's been a great opportunity both ways. Like, we love to serve you guys, but we also love to say, like, hey, we're fun. We're good guys that like to have a good time. We love our Lord, and come be with us. Like, continue your journey.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have to just go into some void after this if you don't continue in Focus or, be involved in alumni stuff with Focus. You need to get involved in a parish. So for men's groups out there, if you've got, Focus or, student centers or anything with Catholic, college students that you're at a college in your area, go and like do that as a service opportunity, because there's nothing more fun than sitting there with a bunch of college kids that are just slamming barbecue or whatever, because it may be like the best meal they've had in a week, because of the funding or whatever they have, but just to see the joy of the Lord in them and to know that people care about them. I think that's the main thing a lot of them have told me in the past is you can feel very isolated there. Like you're on your own little island and in a diocese with all these other ships out there on their own. And it's just kind of, I don't know, it's just been a great pleasure to go over there. And then also just to let people know that, like, hey, we see you. Like, I see you and you mean something. And, because you have a very hard job, man. And you need to feel supported in that.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And there are just a lot of great bodies within the diocese with the young adult groups and Fishers of Men and different areas that I've slowly started to kind of find and get connected with a little bit. But it is really beautiful when we can just come together and it doesn't need to be specifically money or these different things, but just like, hey, can I spend time with, can my students spend time with people who are a little farther along the path than they are? Yeah. And can we just walk together? And so,
the Paul and Timothy relationship. And plus, I mean, is anybody in ministry, again, like, you can't give what you don't have, right? Mm-hmm. So, I mean, you have to have time to be filled too. I mean, if you're just constantly giving and pouring out, then you're going to dry up, right?
Yeah.
You've got to have people pour into you too. And it's been a great pleasure to do that, when you've allowed me those opportunities in your life. And the same thing, again, just because I'm 20 years older than you, God, it makes me feel old. But like, doesn't mean that I'm the one dishing it all out and not receiving anything. Right. And I think, again, that goes back to the point of some of the struggle in the church of that person's young, they don't know anything, or that person's old and they're over the hill and everything they used to know doesn't matter anymore. Mm-hmm. We're all part of the body of Christ, and we have to understand that each of us are needed and each of us have different experiences that bring the overall grand experience to the body of Christ. And so, man, I'm proud to know you, Max, and I'm proud to have been associated with Focus in different ways, whether it's helping here in Memphis or we may have an opportunity to go and do the podcast live from Seek in 2020. What is next year? 2023 in St. Louis.
Yes.
So looking at that, and I've enjoyed getting to know Dr. Shree and Curtis and some of the folks there.
Absolutely,
they're all great people. It's a great mission. So as we come to a close here, man, give us your last, kind of thing you want to share about Focus and what you want people to know. And then one personal thing outside of Focus that Max Zamzow, Zap, but Max Z wants the world to know, people that are listening, about Jesus Christ and what he can do for them, or why they should need him in their life.
Gosh. Yeah.
No pressure.
One thing.
You could say more than one.
I think, too, just can't say enough. I'm obviously a Focus employee, love the mission, love what we do. And it has been a beautiful gift just for my own conversion, my own transformation, to work for this apostolate and to work with the campuses I've been able to work with. But yeah, we truly are coming in to be the hands and feet of our Newman centers. And so really just, I mean, the utmost gratitude and thanks for all the Newman centers out there, all the university priests that are serving and campus ministers and everybody that we get to come in and serve, who are already laying the groundwork for what we do. The Catholic Center here has just been forging ahead. I mean, COVID screwed a lot of things up, obviously, across the world in a lot of ways. But yeah, to be bouncing back from COVID with our ministry to see the ways that our campus ministers and our priest at the University of Memphis, Father Dennis, just cannot thank them enough too. So can't talk about Focus without talking about the people who bring us in, the bishops who invite us in, and things like that too. So just the biggest thanks to all of them. And yeah, just asking for prayers too. I think we're really hoping for the University of Memphis that we can bring 60 students to Seek this year, and that would be the largest amount that I'm aware of Memphis bringing to a conference. So a little bit bigger goal, a little stretch, and I think the Lord wants it. So we'll see what He does, but ask for prayers there. And really just I think been praying a lot the last couple of days with identity and coming back to just a big thing for me, a big part of my story is just the performance culture. And so I think that's something that holds me back a lot on campus is in my mind of like, am I doing this perfectly? Am I good enough? All these lies that can come up. And I just want to remind people too that like first and foremost, we are beloved sons and daughters of God. And Mark 1:11, you are my beloved son with whom I am well pleased. That doesn't change whether I go out and triumph, whether I go out and fail. Like I can always come back, and I'm always loved, no matter what I do, no matter what you do. Really to be able to just figure out what it means to live from that place. I really haven't figured that out yet.
I think it's a lifetime of conversion, my friend.
And to really just be able to live fully, to pursue that Jesus said that he came that we may have joy and that it may be complete, that we may have life and have it abundantly. And so if we're not having those things, to be able to be merciful with ourselves and recognize like, hey, I desire more and the Lord desires more for me. And to have an openness of like, what does that look like then? Just a big transformation. I think one of the biggest things being on mission, sharing the love of the Lord with other people is I just have had interactions with students. One sticks out at South Florida where I was sharing life with my team. We were out in front of the Catholic Lounge, the Catholic Center. And we just had a student walk up to us and said, "Hey, you guys are just the most joyful people that I've met before, and I want to know where that comes from. Like, why is that?" And we got to share the gospel with him. We got to share our faith, and just one of the most transformative things of we can just be transformed in Jesus ourselves. And when you have that joy, when you have that fulfillment of relationship with the Lord that we are created for. Everything flows from that. So we don't need to stress about giving the perfect gospel presentation, leading the perfect Bible study, whatever that is. It's like, okay, Lord, I can water, I can plant, but you're the one who provides the growth. Yeah, amen. And so, being able to at least be reminded intellectually of that. Not that I really live from that place a lot and is part of my deeper conversion right now. I think that the Lord's calling me to, but to hopefully just encourage everybody to really lean into that relationship with the Lord, who we are as His sons and daughters, and hopefully to be able to get a little distance from I'm not defined by results, by success. He doesn't call me to be successful; He calls me to be faithful. Amen. Really just trying to share that on the college campus, but really just with everybody I meet. So
that's a lot of humility in that, man. It really is. I mean, knowing that it's not about you, it's about your yes, right? And it's about staying true to that. And it's tough. Like, I mean, I go through the same stuff here. One day I'm on a mountaintop, the next day I'm going, what the heck, and how did I get here? And, is this and this? And at the end of the day, it's the Lord's world, it's the Lord's plan, it's the Lord's fruit. And we just have to continue every day to get up and say yes, right? And just say, like, I may not feel like it. Another great advice I got lately, There's feelings and there's the truth. The truth is the one that matters.
Yep.
Right. And so just remembering that and identity is something we preach about all the time on the road. That's a big part of our mission. And it is God can use anybody. The only thing that keeps him from being able to use you is you. Is you saying, I will not serve, right? Or I'm not able to serve, or I shouldn't serve, or I don't deserve to serve. That is all stuff and lies of the devil, and he'll keep you there as long as you let him. But if you believe in what you said, you're a beloved son or daughter of God, and that means something, and it's a free gift, and you don't have any say in that because he's the one that has the say. And if you can either choose to live in that and accept that and live in joy, or continue to be in torment and turmoil, it's your choice.
Yeah.
So Max, dude, it's been a great time to have you. I know you're nervous and stuff. You did great, man, and you're just such a blessing. It's been a joy to get to know you in my life and to have you here. I was glad to know that you were staying another year this year, and it's just like I said, it's you've told people or said things about how much you've received from me, but dude, it's the same way. Like it's just. I've received so much from you, and it's such a joy and a source of inspiration to see young people like you. Gosh, it makes me sound old, but younger people like you just embracing the faith and just wildly chasing after God. And it gives me great hope for the future. And God bless Focus and Curtis and all those guys that started it and the work you guys do every day. So give them a place they can go to learn more about Focus or to support it if they wanted to.
Yeah, really, very simply, everything kind of flows. There's a couple different websites and different things you can find, but for Focus particularly, it's just simply focus.org is the best starting point. And yeah, just to keep it simple, I'd just say go there, check it out.
Did you say Max Z sent you or anything like that? Just trying to give you some kudos.
Yeah, no, there's all sorts of stuff. There's more about the Focus mission. We have all of our Bible studies right on there. They're free. Sure. Anybody can use them.
That's awesome.
Yeah, we want those resources out there for everybody. We lead students through discipleship, and all of those resources are out there, free for people to use. And so resources, campuses are on there. If you've got a grandchild, child, niece, nephew, anybody going to college, you can see if Focus is on that campus. You can look it up. You can look for missionaries if you want to support a missionary. You can look for campuses if you want to support a campus. You can seek. There's all sorts of Seek stuff on there too. That's coming up January 2nd to the 6th, and so there's a ton of information on there. But simplest would just be focus.org.
Awesome.
Go check it out.
Man, I love you. I'm glad you came on here today, and I know a lot of people have been more informed about stuff that you guys are doing, and just all the prayers and the support in the world to you, my brother.
Hey, thanks, John. Love you too, brother. Thank you.
All right. Peace.